Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. National Public Radio says that warming during the 20th century was the fastest on record. Slate magazine says that the warming was the fastest in 11,000 years. And they included this diagram showing this incredible hockey stick of warming during the 20th century. Scientific American says that Earth hasn't warmed this fast in tens of millions of years. Chemical analyses of ancient sediments allowed scientists to put together one of the most comprehensive climate histories of the planet. So let's take a look at this unprecedented 20th century warming. These graphs are from the 1990 report of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They show a little bit of warming during the 20th century, but not as fast as the warming of the 17th century. They also showed that Earth warmed much more rapidly 10,000 years ago than it did during the 20th century. The 1995 United Nations report didn't show the warming either. That report showed that Earth's troposphere was no warmer in 1995 than it was in 1958. Keith Breffa's temperature reconstruction showed no net warming during the 20th century. In 1989, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said most warming that occurred between 1881 and 1989 happened before 1919. And they said that Earth actually cooled from 1921 to 1979. That doesn't sound much like unprecedented warming. In 1976, National Geographic showed that there was no net warming from 1880 to 1976. The National Academy of Sciences showed that Earth cooled from 1921 through the 1960s. The National Center for Atmospheric Research showed that there was no net warming from 1870 to 1970. In 1978, the New York Times reported that there was no end in sight to the 30-year cooling trend in the Northern Hemisphere. In 1972, 42 top American and European investigators met at Brown University under the auspices of the National Science Foundation. They wrote a letter to President Nixon warning of a new ice age in about a century, and were now more than halfway through their prediction. In 1975, Science News was warning about a new ice age, and their cover featured glaciers plowing through downtown Manhattan. Last week, 60 Minutes featured Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University as their climate and population expert. 50 years ago, he wrote this paper with John Holdren, Barack Obama's future science advisor, warning of a new ice age. In 1974, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration magazine said that Earth warmed dramatically from 1890 through 1940, but since then, temperatures had been falling. They said that ice pack in the waters around Iceland and Greenland ports was becoming the hazard to navigation it was during the 17th and 18th centuries. Scientists who were observing the Earth during the 20th century didn't see a dramatic warming, at least not after the year 1940. So where did Scientific American come up with this spectacular claim? Carl Sagan said, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." Scientific American not only doesn't have extraordinary evidence, but they don't seem to have any evidence at all. The reality is that academics simply made up some fake graphs. And climate academics receive tens of billions of dollars in research grants for defrauding the public. Toto's been pulling back the curtain on climate racketeering for the past 15 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki Upala, and the 4 new puppies on the web at realclimatescience.com.